This morning, game show host Richard Dawson. A producer claims that Dawson kissed some 20,000 women.
I think it would be nice to have a little chat with you in your nightie.
Well, I figure it's about time.
Game shows are quite fun. You could win $1 million.
We have $1 million winner.
Or a dashing host could kiss your wife right in your presence. In these American game shows, anything could happen. Beyond the allure of making a fortune and the thrill of making it to the television screen, these game shows hold a secret trail of abuse.
Quiet, everybody. Be quiet! That's what is wrong with you. But you're not. Stop it!
Will assault and diverse abominable deeds.
That's a good answer. Oh, you.
In this video, we will take you on an all-revealing exposé as we explore 9 times game show hosts went too far. Number 9. Fergie Oliver's history on Just Like Mom. Did you know that back in the 80s, there was a Canadian show where the hosts would kiss children right on the mouth, sometimes without consent? How did the show's producers get away with something so brazen on television? Were the hosts ever brought to justice? Let's go back to the very beginning. Although children's game shows didn't dominate the American television scene in the 1980s, Canada seemed to be obsessed with the idea of watching children play to win huge prizes. This was the backdrop for the evolution of Just Like Mom. The show first started airing on CTV in 1980. In the first season, Stephen Young stood as the face of the show.
That's a good answer. Oh, you.
Although Young also had a reputation for getting uncomfortably close to some of his contestants, things didn't get so bad until Ferg Oliver and his wife arrived on the scene. During Young's tenure as the show's host, Just Like Mom focused heavily on the gameplay, as both mom and daughters collaborate to sweep the shelves and claim all the rewards. The gameplay involved some question rounds, a bake-off, and a taste-off, where the young contestants would bake a special treat. The dishes would then be tasted by each mom, as they try to guess correctly which belongs to their daughter. Then there was the bonus round, where each team would spin a lucky wheel in the hope of winning some of the show's most coveted prizes.
So, all right, let's see what your mom said, though. Your mom said maybe Snow White.
Including a trip to Disneyland, which nobody probably ever won. After the first season, Stephen Young left the show. Nobody knows why. By the time the second season came on, the show had transformed from a bubbly game show to a shadow of brazen abuse with a chilling feel to it. Gone were the laughter and cheers from the crowd, and the light that made the show shine so bright.
See if we can't get a matchup. A 1 and a 2. Why did you take number 1?
Right in front of the world, Oliver would plant a kiss on the lips of minors, night in and night out. The kids, excited to be on television, would find themselves drawn by the allure of a man whose abominable desires couldn't be contained. The most disturbing part is how no one ever saw this sort of behavior as inappropriate back in the day. Even the mothers, who sat just mere feet away from where their daughters were being violated. They all kept quiet and even cheered him on. Sure, many would say those were early days and the world wasn't so woke, but how depraved must our morality have been to put a child molester on one of the biggest stages on television in the 80s? Just Like Mom ran for 595 episodes, that's about 1,700 children groped by adults on television. Oliver's wife, Catherine Swing, also joined in on the fun, urging the kids to relax and enjoy a harmless bit of fun.
They're green.
But as Oliver's wild ways became increasingly apparent, even Swing couldn't hide her disgust anymore. In one episode, Catherine could be heard quipping, "dirty old man," as Oliver tried to manipulate another child into kissing him. The most appalling part of this whole story, however, was Hollywood's attitude towards the whole matter. Throughout his career, Fergie Oliver was never blacklisted, nor did anyone call him out on his erratic behavior. He amassed several awards and accolades, including a nomination for the Ford C. Frick Award. Sure, Oliver has his own fans who will fight tooth and nail to prove that he was just an innocent man who loved kids. But the truth remains that no game show will ever replace the legacy of Just Like Mom. Number 8. Pat Sajak on Jeopardy! Earlier in 2023, Pat Sajak began exhibiting some erratic behaviors. The beloved television personality has been the host of the game show Wheel of Fortune since 1981. Now, at 77, the game show legend seems to be going through a terrible phase. First, in March 2023, Pat Sajak tried to put a contestant in a chokehold right on camera. Fred Jackson, the contestant, had mentioned that he was a drama teacher, a bar trivia host, and a professional wrestler. Jackson then proceeded to blaze through the competition, winning round after round until finally walking away with $72,800. But before he could walk away, Sajak had one more surprise in store for him. At one point during Jackson's winning streak, Sajak had joked with the losing contestant, saying, "Just because he's a professional wrestler, you want me to body slam him for you?" Everyone thought it was a joke, but the 77-year-old host took his threat quite seriously. After clearing all the prizes, Jackson's father joined him on stage, and together they celebrated, hugged each other, and reveled in the ecstasy of victory. That was until Sajak decided to crash the party. Stepping onto the stage as if to join the celebrations, Sajak suddenly grabbed the contestant's arm, twisted it behind his back, and wrapped his forearm around Jackson's face and neck. Audiences both on set and at home were stunned and amused at the same time. After wriggling around for a few moments, Jackson was able to shake himself out of Sajak's grip, and everyone just seemed to laugh it off. But was the display just a stunt, or Sajak truly meant to physically subdue Jackson right there on camera? We'll probably never know. This wasn't the first time the game show icon would put on a puzzling display on TV. Back in 2020, during a Thanksgiving week episode, Sajak went off on a contestant who challenged him on one of the puzzle answers. The contestant, Darren McBain, whose mother was a 3-day champion on the same show back in 1982, was tasked with solving a puzzle for things beginning with the word kitchen. After correctly guessing all the correct words, including oven, Darren took exception with kitchen oven being up on the board. Kitchen oven? Who calls it a kitchen oven? Darren asked Sajak, but Sajak wasn't amused by this playful banter. Instead, he responded by yelling at the man, calling him ungrateful. Although the comment was laughed off as just an elaborate joke, Pat Sajak would later apologize to Darren, adding that his mother never gave them as much trouble as he did. Whether due to these unrelated incidents or a genuine need to retire, Pat Sajak will drop the hosting duties come 2024. After 43 years, Sajak will hand over the reins of the show to Ryan Seacrest, who will carry on the legacy the show has built over the years. Number 7. Alex Trebek's countless shenanigans on Jeopardy! The year was 2013, and Alex Trebek was hosting a special Kids Week edition of the show when a pretty controversial event took place. Thomas Hurley III was a guest on the show, teetering on the very edge of victory, but a slight error turned the tides against him, leading to what has been described as the saddest moment in Jeopardy history. As a final question to cap a brilliant performance, Thomas was asked what Abraham Lincoln called the 1863 document. Although he knew the answer, Thomas made a tiny mistake by adding an extret to the word emancipation. As the audience held their breath, waiting for the judge's verdict, Trebek simply announced that Thomas had misspelt the word really badly, and that the judges had ruled against him. Thomas was in second place with $9,600 in winnings, and he had wagered $3,000 on the answer. He couldn't believe he could goof up so badly, and he just hung his head. According to Thomas Hurley II, the boy's father, he was pretty bothered by how the host and show's producer had treated his son. Without any concern for the boy's mental health, his loss was just so blatantly announced. Even as he fought to hold back tears, neither the producers nor the host showed any concern. After the clip from the episode went viral online, the host came under heavy fire, as most internet sleuths believed that the boy had been cheated based on a technicality. However, the producers would later put out a statement, standing by their decision on Thomas's answer. The issue caused such a massive controversy online.
It's being called the saddest moment in Jeopardy history.
It even earned Trebek a new set of adversaries. But this was not the first time Trebek would goof up really badly, especially when hosting a show for minors. In an earlier teen episode, Trebek had made his infamous so young comment at a teenage girl who was a contestant on the show. People began to question whether the host had meant those suggestive words in an innocent manner, or maybe he had some abominable cravings. However, for most people, it would be rather inconceivable that a man like Trebek would be capable of such a controversial act. Till today, Trebek's So Young episode remains one of the most unforgettable moments on the show.
We're going to begin with that ABC News exclusive. Jeopardy host Alex Trebek.
Number 6. Richard Dawson. Throughout its 40-year run, Family Feud has introduced to us some of the most beloved game show hosts in history. Every 5 years, the show introduces a new host, each bringing their unique personality to the game. However, no host has ever been able to erase the legacy of the original host, Richard Dawson. Having built up a reputation as a frequent panelist on Match Game, Dawson quickly rose to the top of his field when he started hosting Family Feud in 1976. While many were allured by his dashing good looks and sense of humor, it was his unconventional style of greeting females that eventually became his major talking point.
376, 153, come on.
No one really understands why, but within the first few weeks of the show, Dawson started nurturing a habit of greeting his female contestants with a kiss on the cheeks, hands, and even the lips, claiming that it was for luck. It all started during an episode when a nervous woman was unable to name a particular green vegetable. To help her overcome her wits, Dawson planted a kiss on the lady's cheeks, claiming it was for luck, as his mother would do whenever he had a problem. From then on, Dawson would kiss every woman who appeared on his show on the lips, wishing them good luck. Whether their husband was present on the show didn't matter to Dawson. This went on for over a month, after which the executives became quite worried. They tried to put an end to the kissing, because they believed the sponsors wouldn't fancy the host kissing women without knowing their marital status or getting their permission. In response to the pressures from the executives, Dawson decided to hand over the power to the people. He allegedly asked viewers to vote on whether they would like him to stop kissing or not. Surprisingly, the vote came in 14,600 to just 704 in favor of the kissing. In Dawson's defense, some of the women even approached him for the kiss. And even when a questionnaire was put out, asking the contestants if they would mind getting a welcome kiss from the host, not many people declined. However, this shenanigan only lasted for a single season. By the time Dawson returned to host Family Feud a second time in 1994, he was a changed man. He informed the audience that he had given up his signature greeting, owing to the fact that he was now a married man, and he had promised his daughter he would only kiss mom. Throughout his career, Dawson was said to have kissed around 20,000 women. In spite of the seeming wholesomeness of the matter, the argument still remains about the ethical and moral justification for Dawson's unbridled lips.
This morning, game show host Richard Dawson is being remembered for his wisecracking, very mischievous manner.
Before we go on with the rest of the video, here's our subscribers' pick for today. As we explore the top 9 times game show hosts went too far, one particular episode stands out, the one where Sajak puts a contestant in a chokehold. As the events of the day unfolded on the screen, audiences were left baffled, wondering what the host was up to this time. Was this just another skit to get the conversation going? Or did the host really believe that he could take on a professional wrestler? Even more, what prompted the assault? Was it jealousy? A growing animosity with the contestant? Or something more sinister no one talks about? What do you think? Share your thoughts with us in the comments down below. Now let's get back to the video. Number 5. Tyra Banks. Back in 2005, America's Next Top Model creator and host Tyra Banks delivered an iconic speech during an elimination round, one that has remained immortalized in the Internet Hall of Fame. Throughout the season, Banks has constantly berated the contestants, pushing them to the very edge of their abilities, which some got pushed over the edge. After several weeks of challenges, photo shoots, and hearing the judges' critiques, one contestant named Tiffany Richardson seemed to be disconnected from the competition. The episode in question was set to feature a double elimination, and Tiffany was one of those going home. As the curtain fell on both women's time on the show, Rebecca Epley broke down in tears, but Tiffany expressed her sadness another way as she tried to make jokes about her elimination. This set Tyra into a bout of anger, and she delivered her infamous lines. "Be quiet, Tiffany. Be quiet. What is wrong with you? Stop it!"
Quiet, but everybody, be quiet! That's what is wrong with you, but you're not. Stop it!
As emotions ran high and both Tiffany and the host started yelling over each other, Tyra said, "I have never in my life yelled at a girl like this," expressing her frustration at the lady whom she obviously liked. She went further to explain how much faith she had invested in Tiffany with the hopes that she would go quite far in the competition, but she was left disappointed. The pep talk delivered by the supermodel has continued to resonate with many young female entrepreneurs today, many of whom are quick to blame the society, their upbringing, or other factors for their failures. Her words, spoken from a place of pain, encouraged Tiffany to take responsibility for her actions instead of feeling like a victim of circumstances. For Tiffany, the experience went deeper than the reprimand she received. It was the privilege to witness the godlike Tyra Banks in her most human form that made the experience worth it. In an interview with BuzzFeed 11 years after the event, Tiffany Richardson revealed how she went into the show thinking Tyra was like a god. But in those moments of vulnerability, Tyra's humanity shone through, and in Tiffany's words, the vibe was completely different. As soon as the internet got its hands on the clip from the episode, it became immortalized in the ancient gallery of memes. Whether to express disappointment at a friend who goofed really badly, or to berate a sibling for going back on their workout plans, Tyra got our message through. We were rooting for you. We all were rooting for you. The story became so viral, it was parodied on Family Guy, where Banks was portrayed as a model who loses her temper and transforms into a lizard eating one of the contestants. Today, Tiffany Richardson has gone on to build her own empire. However, we doubt she will ever forget the day she received a pep talk from the great Tyra Banks. Number 4. Karan Kundra. Traveling thousands of miles to India, we uncover a story which is quite violent and controversial. This particular incident revolves around Karan Kundra, an Indian actor who also serves as a mentor and judge on the reality game show Roadie. In one of the most heated episodes of the show, Karan found himself in a violent confrontation after he slapped one of the contestants. MTV Roadies is one of the longest-running and most viewed reality shows in India. Many people follow the show with the hopes of one day becoming a roadie. However, this was not your run-off-the-mill reality game show. Roadie was a battle of wits, intelligence, and drive. Right from the group interviews to personal interview rounds, every step tested the resolve of the contestant. Sometimes, during auditions, contestants would give answers that would upset the judges, and sometimes these judges lose their cool. It was during one of these auditions that actor Karan Kundra physically assaulted a contestant. When asked to describe a controversial moment in his life, the contestant chose to speak about a time he had slapped his sister. In his defense, the sister had decided to marry a boy the family disapproved of. The contestant also added that he didn't regret his actions, as he believed that was the necessary reaction for such a display by his sister. But as he told his story, the Roadies judges became more and more infuriated. It was Karan Kundra who eventually stood up to deliver a punishment many of the judges and audiences had in mind. Without caring whether this was live TV or not, Karan slaps the contestant hard, much to the approval of everyone who was watching. Although Karan had his cool a lot of times during the auditions, this time it was quite different. The intensity of his anger made this particular episode stand out. Not long after this altercation, Karan quit the show and was replaced by Nikhil Chinappa. Number 3. The Untold Legacy of Bob Barker. Up until his retirement in 2007, Bob Barker was considered one of the most wholesome game hosts in American television history. With a career that goes as far back as 1956, this guy has literally been here forever. From the days of Truth or Consequences, when Barker would make his contestants wear ridiculous costumes and perform odd tasks, Bob Barker cemented his legacy as the first person to pre-record a show in order to broadcast in every time zone. But his methods have always been quite unconventional. When The Price is Right came calling, Barker made television history again as the host of the first-ever hour-long game show and the longest-running daytime game show ever. But as it is with every public figure, there was more than meets the eye.
I think it would be nice to have a little chat with you in your nightie.
Well, I figure it's about time.
His life could be described as a fascinating tale of love, heartbreak, and a dash of alleged monstrous behaviors. Before his retirement, Barker's secret life of abuse and cover-ups has been scrutinized by the public over and over. Before 1994, he was seen as a harmless, silver-haired charmer, but everything changed when shocking accusations began to emerge, questioning his stainless reputation. The whole situation became public knowledge after a former employee slammed him with an $8 million lawsuit, alleging and harassment. According to details released by the Associated Press, the said model, Diane Parkinson, who worked with Barker for 18 years, claimed that the host had employed several forms of coercion, including force to make her perform oral acts on him every week for over 3.5 years. She further reported that she had to sleep with him to keep her job, and that since quitting The Price is Right in 1993, Barker has delivered a monthly payment of $1,000 as hush money. However, the producers of the show insist that this was just severance pay. Aper from Parkinson, other women who worked on the show have also corroborated the story, describing Barker as an overly flirtatious man who couldn't even keep his hands off his 70-year-old boss. These were crazy allegations, and owing to Barker's reputation as a top figure in Hollywood,
I hope I'm up there looking down on the whole thing.
Many people found it hard to believe these reports. But the evidence was damning, and even though the lawsuit was later dismissed, the experience remains a blot on Bob Barker's legacy. As we dig deeper into Barker's early days on the show, a controversial practice comes to light, one that has placed Barker on the wrong side of history. As a constant practice on the show, Barker would ask any lucky female contestant to dip her hands into one of his pockets, famously known as the money pocket. Although it seemed like a simple gesture, the intentions behind such practice was most definitely not worthy of a man of such character. Strangely enough, no one seemed to point out that such a practice gave off predatory vibes. Thankfully, our society is more aware today, and such a thing would most definitely not have a place on television today. Number 2. Pat Sajak and Vanna White's infamous kiss. Back in early 1989, Pat Sajak made the difficult decision to transition from Wheel of Fortune into his own late-night show. But during the farewell episode, things took quite an unexpected turn. The former local weatherman had amassed huge popularity from hosting the game show, and even though his move was against the wishes of the executives, he believed this was the best decision. According to him, though, the hardest part of not doing Wheel of Fortune anymore would be not working as much with Vanna White as he would love to. Over the years, rumors have swirled about the nature of the relationship between Sajak and his co-host White. There have been many instances where their interactions have bordered on the edge of a romantic relationship. But how deep did their relationship really go? Whatever doubt anyone had was dispelled during Sajak's final episode on the show. The final bow had been quite an emotional ride for Sajak, whose whole life had been built on the show. As though to crown the whole experience, Sajak decided to showcase what he and White had been hiding for a very long time. For the last 15 seconds of the program, he pulled White in by the waist, leaned into her, and planted a deep kiss on her lips. This was right in front of the camera and a live audience. Everyone was stunned. Merv Griffin, the show's executive producer, wasn't so pleased with this display. While the audience oohed and awed at the romantic scene, Griffin walked on stage with a look of displeasure on his face as he tapped Sajak on the shoulder, asking him to wrap it up, although he did it all quite humorously. Number 1. Meredith Vieira. Sometimes game shows offer the best opportunity for uncomfortable and inappropriate interactions between guests and hosts. Digging deep into the game show vaults, we uncover the story of Meredith Vieira and her flirtatious display while serving as the host of Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. After taking over the helm of the show in 2005, Vieira spent 11 seasons warming her way into the hearts of both fans and contestants. She presented a warm, personable presence who made the contestants feel at ease. That was until she met Navy pilot Max Schumann from Virginia Beach. The tension in the room that day could be cut with a knife, as Vieira appeared to be incapable of keeping her obvious attraction to the gentleman within herself. This was in 2009, when the dashing young man walked onto the show as a contestant. From calling him a miracle to putting the questions in the most seductive way possible, Vieira just couldn't stop flirting with the contestant. Some viewers and members of the audience found the whole experience quite uncomfortable, and it has regularly topped the list of 9 times game show hosts went too far. But was this really sexual harassment? Some analysts seem to think so. According to several news outlets who quickly picked up the story, the young man was obviously uncomfortable about the whole situation, even though he actually appeared flattered. In a moment of self-reflection during the show, Vieira even remarked that she accepted she was just an old lady in need of some loving. Whether it was appropriate to display her affections publicly remains a subject of debate. Thank you for watching this video. See you in the next one.